Welcome back, everybody, to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwall, and today we're going to be discussing Barry series finale that aired a few days ago. We'll be talking Succession, maybe not necessarily the finale, but my thoughts on it so far, because I just started ramping up on it again 2 days ago. Going to be talking about this Xmen news that apparently I've never heard of, but Sean, I guess, saw something about. And Fast X, which Sean and I saw on Friday, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess what we've been watching can kind of just mix into our two kind of thoughts on these two shows.
So I have two.
Yeah.
That are outside of that.
But okay. I have one, but
Or do you want me to do one then you then me?
No, I'll just tell mine real quick because I'm not going to give like a full review or anything because it's been out for a month or two. I watched Air, I believe, Friday.
Oh,
right. Good movie. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Chris Tucker, Viola Davis. Everybody was great in it. I definitely see why they were trying to push it. I think they were trying to get it out end of 2022. I can definitely see why. It's definitely, a little, I don't want to say Oscar baity or anything, but it could definitely be in the conversation for maybe, performance or whatever.
Yeah, for a couple.
I really liked the beginning kind of montage of the whole 80s, like, oh, this is what's going on, etc. during this time. I felt like it provided as well a lot of useful information that I just didn't realize. Not only about Nike, but like I told you, Adidas. It was like, oh, it was founded by a kid or a guy who was like a Nazi as a kid or something. And I had to Google that. I was like, is that true? Turns out he was. So that was interesting, and I did like the whole kind of idea to not show not they casted like somebody to play Michael Jordan, but he doesn't have any screen, like it's not his face or anything, which I actually really did like. I thought that was a good idea. I feel like Michael Jordan, I mean, again, this is more 80s 90s, but I feel like people always talk about Michael Jordan kind of having a bit of a mystique to him where you don't really know much about him. He's not very public. Like I feel like, and obviously it's a different time, but like LeBron James, I feel like people know everything about his life, but he's also grown up in the era of social media. Whereas Michael Jordan, I feel like people didn't know as much about him, and being widely considered the greatest of all time, I feel like not showing his face and not trying to like have somebody, act as him kind of creates a nice mystique that really works in the movie. But yeah, I was really happy with it. I thought everybody was really good. I think if I had to pick like a favorite performance, it was probably either Viola Davis or I really like Jason Bateman. I thought he was really funny in this movie.
Yes, I was hoping that's what you were gonna say. Yeah. He is so fantastic in this movie.
But yeah, really good.
Yeah, I know I talked about Air a couple weeks ago on the channel, on the show. I think I clipped it out as its own thing, but fantastic movie, really, really good. What I've been watching, besides the stuff that we're going to talk about together, I want to kind of... Where'd it go? Right, so, two things... Oh, okay, you know what? Actually, I want to be fair. I have been watching a ton of shit, and I do want to touch on quite a bit, but I'll keep it short for a lot of them. Last week, I had not gotten a chance to take a look at it, but you gave us all your thoughts on Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary, and I literally watched it Wednesday morning last week, like right after our show, and it was fantastic. I know I was texting you throughout it, just like how good it was. The first time that Back to the Future, like little jingle goes when they get to that section to talk about Back to the Future, I thought was fantastic. I've heard stories my whole life about, oh, did you know that Michael J. Fox filmed Family Ties in the morning and then Back to the Future at night? Like, that's just one of those, like, Hollywood facts that I feel like has always been there. But to hear it from him, from the people that were there. And another thing I talked to you about, the use of the actor portrayals Oh, it says my sound is quiet. Ooh. Hang on. I guess so. Okay. 1 second, guys. Um, the use of the actor. Hopefully that's okay. The use of the actor portrayals and also the archival footage
Mm-hmm.
of Oh, 80, I gotta get your thoughts on that. What Danielle just put in the chat. Um, but the use of the archival footage as well to basically show different things that he was going through, and something that you said too that I was like I didn't know how. 1 second, there we go. Okay, I didn't know how it was going to work. Is kind of them intercutting almost like he'll be like, and then I could get away with anything, or like
Mm-hmm.
they were taking everything out of my paychecks, and then there would be like a clip of him from Family Ties talking about his paycheck, and it was
Right.
just
Yeah.
like how they interwove the archival footage, the actual footage from his movies and shows, and the interview style. I thought was fantastic. So really, really like that. One of the things I checked out on Max just to see, how the streaming is and everything as I went back and I watched rewatched Spirited Away. Fantastic movie, obviously. So those two out of the way. First thing I want to talk about because I haven't seen I've seen 4 movies in theaters this week, which is
Mm-hmm.
rare for me. So first one obviously we'll talk about in a little bit here. Next two, me and my mother went to a double feature, very
Mm-hmm.
similar movies. And that is that this weekend there are 2 semi-autobiographical movies by stand-up comedians featuring a veteran actor as their father,
Mm-hmm.
which is very specific. But we went and watched About My Father and then also The Machine. So the first thing I want to touch on is About My Father. About My Father is the one with Sebastian Maniscalco as the lead, Robert De Niro playing his father. It was the one that my mom was most looking forward to going into the 2. I really didn't have a horse in the race either way. I like Sebastian Maniscalco. I like Burt Kreischer, but I don't like watch their stand-up specials.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen Burt Kreischer on Hot Ones, obviously, which is referenced in the movie. Um, but I didn't really have a horse in the fight. So the first movie About My Father, best thing I can say for it is it has Carl from Succession in it, which is always a plus to me. I don't know if it's just because I love him as Carl on Succession, or he was even great in Burn After Reading and everything like that. But he really steals the show as Sebastian's soon-to-be father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that he was really, really good in this. Kim Cattrall from obviously things like Mannequin, Sex and the City, everything like that. She is fantastic as the mother. I thought it was just really, really charming, heartfelt, fun. But to me, it was not as funny as a movie like that should be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't feeling the laughs per minute. I even said to my mom at one point, I was like, we're like 25 minutes into this and I haven't even laughed yet. And then once we kind of got to the family get together that the whole movie's about, it started getting funnier and funnier and everything like that, to the point where I would say I enjoyed it. I didn't think that it was a great or good movie, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I thought it was charming and funny enough that I'd watch About My Heritage or something where now the whole family's got to travel to Sicily or so. I'd take a schlocky comedy sequel to it. But flip side of that, Burt Kreischer, Mark Hamill in The Machine, which is based on loosely a true story that happened to Burt Kreischer in the late '90s in Russia. So that part is basically based on a true story, and then this is what happens if this fictional version of Burt Kreischer goes back to Russia.
Okay.
So that's as much as I'll say. It involves the Russian mafia, all this different stuff, but this movie, on the other hand, I thought was really good for what it was. I'm not out here saying it's Shakespeare or Scorsese or something like that, but I really, really enjoyed the Machine. I didn't see a single trailer. I didn't, I knew the poster. I knew that he was like, he had a shirt off with like guns around him, and it was like clearly like Russian mobsters on the poster and everything like that. But I didn't know what it was going to be about, or that it was this like super action heavy movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it had actual heart, actual drama. there's scenes where Burt Kreischer has to actually, you know, put on a great performance as an actor, not just, you know, not to take anything away from Sebastian Maniscalco as an actor, because he's
Mm-hmm.
obviously been in his fair share of The Irishman. You know, he's been an actor for a while, but the movie about my father really didn't call on him to do anything. Whereas Burt Kreischer, within the first 15 minutes, you know, he's talking about how feels like he's a failure as a father. He's failing in his marriage. He doesn't know if he wants to continue his stand up. All this inner turmoil, and then when Mark Hamill finally joins the movie, it's all this inner turmoil about his father, and it all works perfectly well. I think that their chemistry with Mark Hamill and Burt Kreischer is fantastic throughout the movie. A lot of great supporting characters who are really no names, hopefully before this movie, but I really, really like them. I could see some people in this, you know, it's kind of stereotypical, but I could see some of these actors fitting nicely into like a John Wick or like a Bullet Train or
Mm-hmm.
that action comedy, you know, kind of vein. Because that's what a lot of the supporting cast did in this, and were fantastic at it. But really, the heart and soul of the movie is the fact that, unlike About My Father, this movie has an actual emotional arc with Burt and his father, whose also name is Burt, or Albert in the movie, with Mark Hamill and Burt Kreischer. And I think it's a fantastic performance from Mark Hamill as well. I mean,
Mm.
you know, it's kind of rare, unfortunately, where Mark Hamill is not playing either Luke or you know, an animated character or something. Like, I think kind of the last thing I can think of is like his role in Kingsman, right? Like that was a really, like, that was a real role that Mark Hamill was cast in to be that character. Felt the same way in this. He didn't feel like, oh, I'm watching Luke Skywalker, or oh, I'm watching Mark Hamill because they wanted Mark Hamill for this role. He felt like the character to me, and I loved that character. He was so good throughout the whole movie. I really, really enjoyed myself with the machine. And then the last movie that I saw very recently is actually the movie that came out of Sundance and South by Southwest earlier this year, which is You Hurt My Feelings, with Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Tobias
Oh yeah.
Menzies. And it's oh jeez, so it's written and directed by the same woman who did Enough Said, which was with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and then it was James Gandolfini's last
Oh
role.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Nicole Fencer. That's There's an F and a C right next to each other, so I'm probably not pronouncing that right. But I thought that movie was fantastic. I mean, obviously a movie that's hot coming off of festivals and everything like that. You'd expect it to be at least decent when people are seeing it at the festivals and saying it's one of the best ones out there. It also obviously got picked up very fast, put out in theaters very fast. And it's well worth it. I would go see it. I'm just going to keep it real brief on that because it's kind of a complicated movie. It's kind of a very, not in terms of the plot, but in terms of the tone of like a Harry Met Sally. It's just like you're just kind of in these people's lives, and the
Mm-hmm.
story unfolds very slowly and methodically. And it's just about a really simple premise about relationships that I think every single person on the planet can relate to. And it's anchored by fantastic performances by Tobias Menzies and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but also Mackenzie Davis. I'm slipping on his name right now, but the guy who plays Stewie in Succession is also a main character in this movie. He is fantastic.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So really, really good. It's probably not going to be up for long, but if you're out there and you can get to see You Hurt My Feelings before it goes on streaming, but also it is a small, intimate movie, so if you want to wait for it to come to home release or something like that, but really, really fantastic movie. Really, really good. All right, so what do you want to talk about first here?
Uh, I want to talk about Succession personally.
All right, let's go for it. That's what I like to hear.
All right, so I'll just get into, I guess, like what my thoughts are. Over the past 2 days, I've made it to season 2, episode 4. So next week, I might be done at the rate I'm going currently. It's a very good show. I will say that. I'm not gonna go into any spoilers because Daniel wants to watch it. and we're both gonna watch it separately. I don't want to spoil anything for her, but I will
You can
give you my
talk in code if
thoughts
you want.
on
I'm good.
characters. Yeah, or that.
Go for it.
And basically who I started, not liking a lot of people, but a lot of people growing on me. First, I'll start with Kendall. I sent you the GIF. It's like in The Godfather 3. It's like he pushes me away, and then he just pulls me back in because I just feel bad for him because I know he's a bad person. I know he does bad things, but when he hits a low, he hits a very low low, and it's very
Yes.
tough to watch somebody go through that. So I like him, but I have a tough relationship with him because I don't know. It's like he makes me hate him and be like, "Why are you doing that?" And then he gets caught up in something and he hits a rock bottom at the end of season 1. That was that was rock bottom right there. And I was like, "Oh man, I have to be on his side." I feel like I just feel really bad for him. Logan, I'm kind of I don't really like him all that much. He's really an asshole. He really is. I don't think he just doesn't like. He will get it, but he'll gets it just because he needs to manipulate you for some reason, and then he'll kind of shit on you again. And I just he annoys me. Marsha, don't like her. I need her. She needs to stop talking sometimes. Like, I get it. It's like, you're. I think they're married. Are they married or no?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it's your husband now at this point, but sometimes we just need to stop talking. Okay.
You got right. Yeah.
Tom has grown on me. Didn't like him the first episode or two, but after that, he's grown on me. I really like him. I always is it Greg or Craig? Greg, I don't know what Greg is as a character because he's just like there. Like he's basically us in the show, I feel like. Where he's just like he's kind of there and like him and Tom are friends, but like he just kind of finds himself in these situations, like in the beginning of season 2, where he is having a conversation and I'm like, how did he end up in this? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, he's talking to the person at the coffee shop,
or
whatever it is, and I'm like, how did he end up in this situation? I was like, he's literally just like he's the son of like of Logan's brother or brother's daughter or something. So he's like not like
So he's Logan's nephew.
Right? Yeah. So I just feel like he finds himself in some weird situations and. The whole I forget what something I found really funny that he was doing, or him and Tom have some really funny moments. But when he is making copies of that thing, and he keeps saying like,
this
I forget what his
the
saying
day
is.
This one goes away. Yeah.
So I don't know where I stand with him. He's goofy. Roman, sometimes I like him, sometimes I hate him. He's funny. He has really funny quips all the time. He's kind of a disgusting person, but I again feel bad for him when he gets like shit on, I feel bad. Like in the most recent episode I was watching at the retreat when Logan says he says you're what does he say? It was something worse than like stupid or something. But he was like you're just dumb. Like you But then he's like I'm not dumb. He's like, no, you're fucking stupid. And I was like, well, I feel bad for him now, And then the other character I really dislike is I forget his name, but the other dude that is like the political strategist.
Nate.
You know what I'm talking? Nate can't stand him. Cannot go away, Nate. Okay. I get like, does he have to like make some sexual innuendo every 5 minutes? Like, shut up. Okay, stop talking. Can't stand him.
Yeah, I really fucking.
Yeah, it's like go. And after season 1, I was like, oh, he's gone. I was like, is he gonna be gone forever? And then he showed up in like at season 2 in some episode. I was like, oh, damn it.
I will say this about Nate. on the IMDb episode counts,
Yeah.
he's low.
He's low. Okay, good.
I'll just say that.
Because I don't like him. And I probably, I don't know. I really like Shiv.
Oh yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about her. I like her a lot. I don't know like what they've established what the relationship is with her and Tom, but like things will happen and I'll be like, okay, but like he's not really like reciprocating in that way. Like they're not doing the same, they're not moving the same way. Where I feel like they're kind of moving two separate ways, and I'm like, well, I feel like this will end badly and at some point, you know, somebody's gonna be sick of the other one. But I like that she kind of is going her own way, or at least you know she was going her own way until you know at least a recent episode.
Made?
Yeah, a promise was made.
Okay.
And so I'm interested to see like what happens with her in that, if anything happens. I've stayed away from the finale. I don't know what happened. All I see is Kendall sitting on a park bench. That's all I've seen.
What else is fucking new?
Everybody keeps tweeting that shot or that one shot of him. And am I forget? Oh, Alan Ruck.
I was just gonna say,
Connor. Holy crap!
I have never not talked to someone about this show, sat back, listened to their thoughts, and they have never not either forgotten Connor or saved him for last. It's like the
sometimes
show
I'm kind of like
has it on you.
Again, another person where I'm kind of like, does Connor really need to be here? Like, is he really necessary for this story? Because he's kind of
fun, isn't he?
He's doing his own thing, and I got to the episode with the video that he does in season 2.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the funniest things
kitchen?
in the show. Yeah. And you know, I do kind of feel bad for him because like again, another person I feel bad for, where it's like he has this girlfriend that is a sex worker, but everybody in the family like hates that she's a sex worker, and they don't want to damper the image of the family with her being seen in whatever it be, photos, etc. And it seems like he genuinely like loves her, I think, from what I could tell so far. And you know, when she got to be in the photo, the wedding photo, that was a big moment. You know, he was like, oh yeah, you know, great.
I love his whole
like
when she's
his
like,
whole
Con, I don't know, and he's like, well, if you don't, I'm gonna stab Tom's eyeballs out, shit in the cake, and jump up and down. And he was like, so yeah, we're gonna have her in the picture, okay?
Or like when he runs in, he said, the butter is cold, and he says it like 50 gazillion times, and then you know he's running. He goes around every table. He says, sorry about the butter, and Roy goes, what was wrong with the butter? And Marsha's like, oh, it's cold. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then at the end of the night, he goes, great job, everybody. So proud of you all.
Yeah, I flip with him. I don't like him, just because I think he's annoying. I think he seems very at times pretentious with his
100%.
Architectural studies and his his whole thing. It gets very annoying. Overall, I'll say, and I'm missing somebody.
I mean, I kind of want to get your opinion on the old guard, on Frank, Carl, Jerry, Hugo, Carolina.
Frank, I'm not gonna lie. Frank is he was the CEO or COO, correct?
Yeah, COO.
Or blah blah. If I thought that was a bald cap that the actor had on. And then because I could have sworn I saw like a line or something where I was like, that looks like that's not part. And then I like looked at the actor's IMDb and I was like, oh no, that's his hair.
Yeah.
Because it just did for a second. It just didn't look.
They
real.
Actually, for Frank's character, they do his makeup as if Frank is doing his makeup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like just a little thing that they do. Peter Friedman, who plays Frank, which Frank is easily probably top 3 character on the show for me. I just love Frank. I can't get enough of him. Frank and Carl are fantastic. Their dynamic together is fantastic. But Frank is really just I love that guy. But yeah, that's interesting. You noted about his makeup because they literally have talked about that before.
Oh, okay, cool.
That they do that. But yeah,
I like all
Carl,
of them.
Jerry, yeah,
Jerry. I like the I forget the woman's name. She's the general counsel.
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. I like
Yeah.
her a lot.
Hmm.
I think I haven't gotten a ton with what's his name? Carl. Is
Carl.
that his name?
I will say
Um,
Carl gets increasingly more to do,
mm,
and then Michelle and chat, you could probably back me up with this. Season 4, Carl just gets the chance to spread his wings.
oh, okay.
And so he's got some real great
Okay.
some real great lines and real great moments. But yeah.
But yeah, I like, I'm right now I'd say I'm
Hmm.
there's not really teams right now where I'm at. But
Yeah,
I
you're
felt that
probably the most like not even divided, just like season 2 is just still everybody's just so ingrained in their own shit that's going on.
yeah.
Like none of the like end game really has started yet. Like so it's very interesting point that you're at. There's no real coalitions yet.
Yeah, I did love at the end of season 1 I love the you're my number one boy line.
Oh.
I love that. That whole scene was I almost started tearing up cuz
You will.
just cuz it's like
You will.
I know Kendall's he really is asking for it.
Yeah.
Cuz he's not helping himself in any way. And but to see him kind of be reduced to somebody who has to and somebody who has to kind of like he's not begging for anything, but he's just kind of like he has to do what he's asked to do because he's in this situation where if he doesn't comply his life's basically over.
Yeah. Did you get
And
to Volter in season 2 yet?
that was
Oh,
I
okay,
think
yeah.
episode 3 I want to
Oh,
say. And he had me too because I thought he was going the opposite way again
okay.
after he was told to do something and now he was going to do the opposite, but he was like, oh no, I'm shutting the shit down.
Got
It's
him.
done. And that's got to be, again, that had to be hard for him because he was in episode I think 1 or 2 it is.
Episode
He's
1,
the one
that's his
who he
baby.
buys it up,
Yeah.
So that sucks, and especially just because he's doing something that Roman came up with, and they're at this point they're basically working together. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like any other thoughts. I don't know. I think they do a very good job of there. At some points, there's a little kind of like, they're talking a lot of different business terms and stuff like that, and I think they do a good job of kind of weaving through that and making the watcher
they do a great
understand.
job. It's that kind of Big Short, like
right.
Not Vice. What is it? Big Short and
Margin Call.
What's the other one? Yeah, like Margin Call, Moneyball, stuff like that. That's just like we're gonna throw a lot of big words and big stuff at you, but we're gonna break it down in a way that you'll understand it really really well.
Like I feel like I understood basically everything except like they would talk like they said bear hug a lot, and I was like I have no idea what the fuck that means, so I had to like Google it. I was like, oh okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But like I'd never heard that term before. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what I'm plowing through. Again, like I said, next week I might be done, which would be really awesome.
Yeah.
But man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be. I can feel some bad things are coming.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. Yeah. I mean, I've talked on the show before. Absolutely fantastic. You can go check out every single one of my reviews of I have a review up for every single episode of Succession season 4 right now on the channel. Again, I know I talked about it last week, but thank you guys so much for showing those videos so much love, sharing them, everything like that. They're getting, I think collectively at this point they have like a couple thousand views between all of them. So that's really really awesome. Especially we talked about before. I didn't even know if I wanted to do Success reviews. We talked about it, and then I just posted the first one, and it really took off. So I appreciate it. Next up, I just want to say a little special announcement. Hopefully, going to improve both of our lives, and that is I do have a day of birth coming up soon. So I decided to get myself something,
Okay.
which hopefully will help. But I have always very much been through and through Android,
Oh
particularly
no.
Samsung. But T-Mobile, they got me with an offer I couldn't refuse.
Hmm.
And to help with editing and video work and everything like that, picked myself up
Oh, what the fuck?
one of these guys.
I was expecting you're getting a new phone.
No. So I got this beautiful yellow iPad
Is
10th
that
gen.
me? Oh, 10.
Yeah, it's just iPad 10th gen. Um,
They have the M1 chip or
I
M2
believe
or
so. Yeah, because this is the one that came out like 4 or 5 months ago, I think. Whatever the last iPad push was, or whatever. Um,
Welcome to the dark side.
I have got to get used to a lot of things, but I got this nice T-Mobile. Also, they did they got me what am I trying to say? They got me with a deal on this keyboard case as well, which I was really worried was going to be kind of shitty,
Hmm.
and it is not. Thankfully, it's got a kickstand. Something I've like literally over the course of a couple hours, I kept learning more and more things. Second of which is blowing my mind as someone who our first family laptop was like that thick. The keyboard just completely comes off of the case and is like
Hmm.
the thickness of like 2 credit cards, and it's like fully functional, which is just insanity to me. But luckily, I was able to pay for all that monthly and everything like that, so I'm glad to get that. And I did the thumbnail for this episode, got it up there, and it's really gonna help. Already helped with me actually being able to type the descriptions and the hashtags and the tags and everything like that for the stream. So hopefully it'll help with a lot of different things. But
Hmm.
more importantly, I'm going to be using it for a lot of editing on the go when I'm not at my computer, everything like that. So hopefully that'll be fun. But yeah, I got that. I might need your help navigating the Apple ecosystem because I tried to download an MP4 from Google Chrome and it just didn't go anywhere. And I was like,
Yeah.
files are
Uh,
different, commands are different. It's a lot.
yeah, I
But
still have never really quite figured that out. I believe I could be very wrong. When downloading something,
mm-hmm.
it goes to there is an app called Files now.
Okay.
So it might be in there. I'm not sure. Maybe if something happened to it. You know, whenever I try to download something, I usually have better luck just doing it from Safari instead,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's like the native
One.
browser, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my problem too. Is that I want to fight back against it, and I want to download
Right.
all of the
Exactly.
Google apps and everything to feel at home. But
Hmm.
everything is like you're really better off just using the stuff that's on there. But
Yeah.
I'm not ready yet. But I'll get there. My roommate's like, it's gonna take time to get used to
Hmm.
everything. But yeah, so hopefully that'll be good. But next up here, I just wanted to talk a little bit of box office here before we get to some Fast X and some Barry discussion, which probably is going to end up being a little bit of a shorter show today, which I didn't even realize. We're only like 34 minutes in.
Hmm.
But so box office wise, number 5, well, going to number 6 was About My Father, and then number 5 just above that is The Machine. Talked about those two movies earlier. Super Smash Bros is at number 4. Guardians is at number 3, Fast X is at number 2, and then Little Mermaid debuted at number 1, which is not very surprising. But what I wanted to focus on a little bit here is 5 of these movies' final or current worldwide gross, because there's a lot of,
Hmm.
our movies dead, our big franchise movies dead. Is Little Mermaid a flop? Is Fast X the lowest fast opening since 2006? Yes and no to a lot of different things. So first of all, the one I wanted to talk about, again, just a actual win for Warner Brothers, is Evil Dead Rise. Is winding down its box office turn with $144 million, which again we've talked about before. That movie was built for HBO Max, so that's $144 million of literal just pure profit, which is crazy. Little Mermaid debuted with $187 million worldwide. Underperformed in China and Japan and those territories, but overperformed in a couple other ones. So that's really good for that movie. Even though that movie did have, 200 million something dollar budget like that. Next one, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, is Fast X, which is currently at $516 million, doing great overseas. This is a franchise that has completely flipped, essentially, from being a domestic hit to being a bigger hit worldwide than it is here in the States, in Canada and everything like that. So you see it's like 113 million just from America and Canada, and then $402 million from everywhere else. But also helping that movie be super profitable already. It's at $516 million. So, I mean, we are definitely probably going to get the trilogy finale that Vin Diesel wants to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Chris Pratt watch, we got Mario has passed 1.288 billion dollars at the box office. So just absolutely making a killing there, doing really, really good. It's now, I believe, the third highest animated movie ever, just behind the two Frozen movies. And then last up here, Guardians Volume 3, going right up there with a stable, critical box office, financial, everything like that hit for Marvel Studios. It's at $737 million, which is, incredible for just a couple of weeks of release. What are your thoughts on some of that, on some of this box office stuff? Let me know. I will listen, but I will be right back. Just gonna step out for a second.
Okay. Let's see. Because I'm just looking at total gross here, unfortunately. Super Mario Brothers movie, $500,000. Okay, so that's a lot of money, or $500 million. Is that domestic? I don't know if that's domestic or not. Let's see. Guardians 300 million. Fast X 107 million. Real quick, just preemptive to the review that we're gonna do. If you have not seen, even if you haven't seen, I guess like all the Fast and Furious movies, I would definitely recommend going to see Fast X. But don't have your expectations too high. It's not like it's not, like a it's not a Spielberg movie, it's not a Scorsese movie, but it's really dumb fun. And if you're looking for a dumb fun action movie, I would definitely check out Fast X. Really good to see Little Mermaid doing really well. There's a lot of just a lot of backlash around that movie, whether it be them changing the songs, the casting of Ariel, etc., etc. But glad to see people are showing up for that movie. Super Mario Brothers movie, week 8, still going strong. Again, I feel like deserved. We both really liked the movie. I think we both saw it. Maybe we both. Yeah, I think we both reviewed it. Mario movie, really good for what it is. Hopefully, this makes Nintendo wake up and make more movies. I have not seen any of the other ones. Guardians, of course, good movie. But I think that's it for me. I do want to just. I need to go back real quick to Succession because. Just touch on it real quick. I thought it was just watching the show, and obviously, nobody else is ever going to play, Logan Roy, that character. But whenever I was watching Brian Cox play that character during any of the scenes, it always seemed like he was just kind of made for that role, and I can't really picture anybody else playing that character. And yeah, it's just a fucking good show. I wish I would have started it when it came out, and I think it started 2018. Yeah, I kind of wish I would have been able to like catch up for the finale. I did that with Game of Thrones. I think I started. It was the beginning of when season 5 was. How many seasons of Game of Thrones were there? 7. I think I started the second last season. So that was season. Where are we? There's 8 seasons. So I started, I think, beginning of season 7. Or maybe it was season 6. But I was able to binge it like one summer, I think. And I watched like all 5 or 6 seasons or whatever to get ready for the season that was about to come out. So I wish I was able to do that with Succession. But I am very interested, obviously, to see how it's going to end. I don't know anything. But from everything I see online and on Twitter, everybody's putting it kind of in that, top tier HBO shows ever. And so far, so good, I guess. I feel like I've only seen so many HBO, like I've never seen The Wire, I've never seen The Leftovers. But
Neither
it's
have I.
definitely what?
Neither have I.
Oh,
Those are like the only two that I missed as well. The Wire and the
yeah,
Leftovers.
yeah. But like, is it Sopranos level so far? I would say so. I'm assuming it has a better ending than The Sopranos.
What has an ending?
An ending, yeah. And we're just real quick now that you're back. Just two like crazy moments was the end of episode or towards the end of episode 10 with the water. That's all I'll say. That I was like, oh shit, and then the somebody hitting somebody else with a can of what's it called?
Cranberry sauce?
Cranberry sauce. That was another thing. I was like, oh, I did not see that coming. But yeah.
Neither did he.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man. That poor yeah. Well,
that poor person.
That's a major spoiler. But
yeah, no,
that poor person. What's it called? I think actually, now that I'm just thinking, if you're in the middle of season 2, actually, you said that you already know the thing about Greg's meeting, so
yes.
I'll just say that Greg's meeting.
Who was okay? Well, sorry, real quick. The person that gets ratted out for that. Mm-hmm. Do you remember who they met? Who they say it was?
No, I don't.
But did we ever see him on screen or anything? They like say like his name, but I was like, I don't think we've ever seen that person. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
But the repercussions of that meeting lead to a very, very insane moment of a game.
Ooh,
with
a game. Okay.
With and I'll just say,
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Born the Floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. I seen that already.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like that's probably your best Carl moment so far.
Yeah.
Is that game. But yeah, Bore on the Floor is that's a pretty wild episode when I watched that for the first time. But yeah, like you were saying, hopefully catching up for it. I caught up with it in time for the season 3 finale, which really wasn't that long ago. I mean, season 3 ended in I want to say it ended in February of 2022. Okay. So, and then this season, it's crazy. Season 4 was they started filming season 4 in like September of 2022. Oh, wow. Yeah, and then it started airing right after Last of Us in at the end of February. So at the end of March. So it's crazy to me just how quickly they turned it around. But yeah, absolutely fantastic show. Another fantastic show that I think both of us forgot that we need to touch on, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso finale tonight.
I know. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? I mean, last week we got a big old Ted episode. We got a visitor from back home. Spoilers for last week's Ted Lasso. It is the finale this week, so be warned there. But obviously we haven't seen the finale yet because it just came out on Apple TV about 20 minutes ago. But last week Ted's mother came to town, opened up a whole new world of hurt. I know we've been kind of on Ted watch of like how important is Ted to this season, how much screen time has been having, how much story influence has been having. And I feel like this last episode, if it truly is the penultimate episode of the entire show, I think it really did a great job of, giving us a fantastic Jamie episode, which you figured was going to be what happened, and it absolutely was, but also a pivot back to Ted as our primary protagonist of this show. It is his story, and everyone around it, orbits around him, even though sometimes, we don't see it that way because we focus on so many other characters. But what were some of your favorite moments from this episode? Ted and his mother, Nate, dealing with, does he want to come back to the team? Obviously he does want to, but he still feels like, Ted is not going to forgive him, or Ted doesn't want him. But then, just like Ted Lasso does, we go, Ted forgave him the moment that he left. It's Beard who needs to, it's just
Right,
the way
yeah.
that the show smashes us in the face with not what we want, but what the show needs, which, like, I didn't have I need to see Beard forgive Nate on my bingo card last week, but
Right.
it's like as soon as then they show you this is what has to happen, you go, well, of course that's what has to happen. It wouldn't work any other way. Like, I just love that. But what are some of your moments on that episode? And a little finale predictions? Do we really think this is series finale, or what do we think's going on with it? Also, Roy and Keeley.
Right. Favorite moments was Roy and Keeley in Jamie's kind of childhood bedroom. I thought that was cool. With the picture of Roy with a fro, I think it was, or whatever.
I think it was a Jerry curl.
A Jerry curl in a Chelsea uniform, and then a picture of Keeley covering her boobs with soccer balls. I think that was the picture, if I recall correctly.
Jamie Chart really manifesting.
Which made me think, like, what is the... If this is his childhood bedroom, right, how old is he? And then how long was he living at home, I guess? Because
that's a good question.
Then maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was living at home for so long. That's why, because that seemed like a picture where I was like, I don't know. I feel like they're not that age different. Like they're not that far apart. Mm-hmm. So like, when was that picture taken, and when was he like still living at home? I thought that was great. Obviously, the Beard and Nate's kind of moment of forgiveness. That was what.
I just looked it up. Phil Dunster is he's 13 years younger than Brett Goldstein. So,
okay.
if you want to stretch the characters' ages a little bit, I guess that could make sense.
Well, I meant Keeley.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, then again, I think it would be kind of safe to say maybe when he was playing for Manchester not that long ago, maybe he just lived with his mom again.
That's fair. That is fair.
Maybe that was what it was. I don't know.
Yes, but probably. The forgiveness scene with Nate and Coach Beard was great. That was a great little,
and learning Coach and Ted's backstory.
Yeah, that was really good. What else happened in this episode?
Ted and his mother.
Yes, at the end, specifically. That was great. Made me almost tear up at that moment as well.
Yeah.
No chance in hell that Richmond is like tied for first. Okay, that it's not possible. It wouldn't happen. I know we've skipped much of the season. Like we've seen very some game time here and there, but no way they'd be tied for first. Called bullshit on that. But what did I say last week? I said it'd be really cool if they could get one big cameo or something.
Yeah.
And right on cue, they have Pep Guardiola, manager of Manchester City in real life, as a cameo. And they...
With a real nice message for all the kids back home.
With a real nice kind of... They should have just had him, like, just say something. Don't...
Yeah.
Just don't have him say that. I don't know.
It felt a little,
It was very clunky. Like clearly he was reading it off like a script or something. Yeah. And the green screen didn't help. If we're being completely honest. But it was nice to see, that they got, kind of a bigger name on the show, which was really cool. I should have known too, because maybe it was just Manchester City like promoting because they're facing them in the episode. But they had like a tweet, like a whole thing, like, "Oh, we're facing Richmond tonight," blah blah, blah. And obviously he shows up. So that was cool. I think that's it. For the finale, I think it's the finale. I think it is. I think I will stick to the Nate takes over, Ted goes home. I don't think it's going to be a Ted Rebecca. I don't think it's going to be like a. Yeah, I love you or something.
I really still just hoping somehow, but I feel like if it was going that way, they would have had to like get it going already. You know what I mean? Right, I feel like it's a little hard for the last episode, but that being said, I'm two schools of thoughts on this. So, are you familiar with the classic film? Oh, look at that. Are you familiar with the classic film Mary Poppins?
Yes.
So, as stated earlier this season, when they were going through favorite Julie Andrews movies,
Uh-huh.
two big movies that I think are, because Ted Lasso, the show, is, if anything, a show that lives in its subtext, right? It's so much allegory and analogy, and everything that Drax has trouble with,
Mhm.
really like propels the show forward. And so that conversation where they're talking about favorite Julie Andrews movies, they talk about, Ted says that his favorite is Mary Poppins, and Roy says that his favorite is The Sound of Music. So in The Sound of Music, big song in that, So Long, Farewell, Elvira saying goodbye. The
Mhm.
finale is called So Long, Farewell. So there's
Mhm.
a little connection there. And then what I think is even more is Mary Poppins, and I'll bend it a little bit to then basically the same movie, but Nanny McPhee is, the whole thing of, when you need me but don't want me is when I have to come, but when you want me and no longer need me is when I have to go. And
Got it.
that's I think that is what is going to happen. So I think it's that Jason Sudeikis, he always, it's always, no, I don't even know if analogy is the right word, but it's just like these storytelling homages basically that are throughout all of Ted Lasso. I think is really going to come to a head there. But that being said, in my back pocket, if this maybe is just a season finale, which I will give you, I think right now it could go either way, because Jason has said many times this is the story that we wanted to tell. But then Brett Goldstein and Apple TV referring to it as the season, and then Brett Goldstein saying in interviews like, we'll do more if we want to do more. I think a very interesting thing would be, what do we know about Henry and Michelle and Dr. Jacob, or Jake? I'm not gonna call him that. Clearly Michelle and Dr. Jacob. We
Rocky
saw
Roads, it seems.
Rocky, absolutely Rocky Roads last time we saw them. It's been a couple episodes since the whole
Yeah.
Paris thing, but still top of mind of that interaction that Ted saw and Michelle saw that Ted saw. And Henry had the thing with bullying somebody in school because he was so
Mhm.
frustrated because of his home situation, missing his dad, everything like that.
Yeah. And his
I
mom
think,
again, like bringing that up in most
yeah,
previous
and
episode.
his,
Yeah.
I think if they wanted to give us the super hopeful ending and maybe keep the story going, I think we could see maybe the switcheroo, and I think maybe we could see Henry moving to London
Moved
to
to
live with
London.
Ted. I think it's possible. I really do think it's
Yeah.
possible because, I mean, clearly, Michelle trusts Ted
Mhm.
to a point where she didn't in previous seasons, where she was like, I need to take care of Henry, but now maybe it's time Michelle needs to focus on, her own stuff. She knows that Ted is trustworthy and is in a stable situation right now, just misses his son. And, it can be a thing where Henry goes to live with, him for maybe high school, because now he's
Mhm.
transitioning out of middle school or something. But that being said, I think if we're going storybook ending, I think you're absolutely right. I think Nate takes over, Ted goes there, goes back to the States.
I'm with you on the
But yeah,
Mary Poppins Sound of Music thing.
yeah.
That
Yeah, I
sounds more
thought I
plausible.
just mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense, I think. But that's enough for Ted Lasso. Let's go on and talk about a very, very different show. Well, actually, what do you want to end with? Fast X or Barry? You want to end with Fast X?
uh, let's end with Barry. No, let's end it with Barry. Yeah. We'll end it with
Okay.
Barry.
So, Fast X, take us through it. How was it?
Fast X, man.
It
What
was
a
a
film.
wild ride.
What a picture. I mean, it's basically everything. Not I it's better than I expected, I guess. Return to the Fast Furious franchise. I've said Fast 9, maybe one of the worst I felt in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my favorite being Fast 5. For me, that's top of the top for the franchise. Um, but yeah, they really brought me back with this one. My biggest problem with Fast 9 was the fact that they knew they were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They were too self-aware, where they would make jokes about how they're not dead. The joke was, oh,
Yeah.
Tyrese, his character doesn't die. And all that stuff is gone from this one, which is fantastic. Don't
Yeah.
even going to space in the last one would have been better if they just didn't make it evident that they knew how crazy it was that they were going to space.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
um and obviously, spoiler, they don't go to space in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a really good time. Did it have its problems? Of course it did. For me, Brie Larson and I always
Alan
forget
Ritchson.
his name. Alan Ritchson. They were fine.
Mm-hmm.
Their one scene together in the beginning I thought was pretty poor. In
Yeah.
that kind of room that looked like when Mr. Incredible goes to look at all the heroes that died in the
That's the
first
perfect.
Incredibles.
Yeah, that's the
That's what it
perfect
looked
one.
like.
I was saying Cerebro.
But
That's way better.
The Incredibles looked way better.
Yeah.
um, the whole kind of gang of Ludacris, Tyrese, and Han and everybody else. That whole kind of thing felt like they were just there. They didn't really need to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And everything that they were given was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't have much to do, unfortunately. But where this movie really shines is Jason Momoa, hands down. Jason Momoa brings just a lot of fun to his character, the villain that he's playing. I've seen everybody saying he's doing, his best Heath Ledger Joker impression, which I would agree with.
Mm-hmm.
He's just off the wall, funny at the very correct times, menacing at the correct times, charismatic. Everything, works where it's kind of like, I kind of start to like this guy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely the villain that I think this franchise needs.
Yeah.
And I personally, when I was walking out, I was like, I could have watched probably another half an hour. The way the movie was going, is it crazy? Is it unbelievable times? Yes, but that's what this franchise is at this point. But again, they're unbelievable without telling you that they're unbelievable, that they know they are unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed myself. Again, has its problems, but for what it is as a Fast and Furious movie, some good surprises and a lot of fun. And a great post-credit scene.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think the movie, I turned over to you about like 25 minutes in, towards like the end of the Rome sequence, and I was just
right.
like, this isn't bad so far. Like I was just like obviously I'm saying for a Fast and Furious movie,
right? Yeah.
But that being said, for a Fast and Furious movie, I was like, this is actually like pretty decent so far. I think as you were talking, I think if you took out the Roman, I really do think that the best storyline in this whole movie is Dom's. I mean, I think that his is the best storyline. I do say, I also said this to you while watching it. It was a little weird that like he was just kind of alone the whole movie. Like he would like link up with like a side character and a new side character at that, like somebody that we haven't really known before, be with them for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Then they would either get taken off the board or they would be like, all right, Dom, you got to take it on your own from here. Like, and that happened like 3 different times. Whether it's, not really big spoilers because they're together in the trailer, but whether it's his scenes with Brie Larson, his scenes with Danielle Melker, who I thought was really, really good in this, for her small scene that she's in. I really hope that she gets either bigger roles or like more meaty roles in the future, just because like her role as Ratcatcher 2 obviously in the Suicide Squad was fantastic, but it was a smaller role. Guardians, obviously a much smaller role, but still really good for what she was in that movie. And then in this one, also pretty small role. So, but that being said, I think she did a lot of good stuff with her screen time. I think really the writing did not really help Alan Ritchson or Brie Larson. I would say specifically Brie Larson, because, obviously Brie Larson can be super charismatic and awesome in a lot of different movies. And while I thought that she was charismatic in this movie, her character just came off a little bit like not dumb, but just like dull. Like it was just like, okay, she's just kind of here because Kurt Russell they're either saving him for something or he didn't want to come back or something like that. And I don't mean like, you know, oh, Kurt Russell didn't want to, so they got her instead. It's just like she's just kind of filling that role in the narrative of like, you know, good guy agent. But something I want to talk about too. What the hell happened with Scott Eastwood? Because he dives out from an exploding car, lands perfectly fine, and then the whole rest of the movie is like, oh, there's no one left that can explain what was happening in Rome. And it's like, well, Scott Eastwood can. He was there with them, and then he just disappears from the whole movie.
What did I say? I said the movie's a little bit unbelievable at some points.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, like I was saying with Dom's kind of being the best, I think if you just I think if your goal is to make a really good movie, I think if you just shave off like a ton, like just a ton of this movie, like a third of this movie, I think there's a really good like hour and 45-minute Dom Toretto movie in here. But obviously this franchise has grown beyond that, and we got to have a 15-minute, you know, Jason Statham, cameo, you know, kind of intersplice. We got to have a 15-minute,
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, and then also we got to have a 20-minute Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron bit that you know for them. Basically, like, we kept cutting back to them throughout the entire movie, but like everyone else, it was like days were happening. But for those two, it was like you said at one point. They say at one point is like we have 4 minutes before the alarm goes off, and then the entire rest of the movie, they're just in the same space, and it's like nobody has addressed the 4-minute thing, and the guards never show up. Like,
then I said that was a long 4 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And then they kind of circle all the way back around to they're still doing their one thing. Literally at the very end of the movie, they're still on that same part. But just kind of pushing over for a second, because this movie has been self-described by Vin Diesel as their, you know, Avengers Endgame of this franchise.
Definitely Infinity War.
That's what I meant to say. Not to say spoilers or anything, but, you know, a certain number of people are either somewhat or pretty concretely taken off the board at the end of this movie. I mean, where do you think we're going with 11? Do you think we're going, you know, are we going to get a resurrection from another person we didn't talk about yet? John Cena, and,
we didn't talk
Brian.
about it. Another
really
highlight
great.
of the movie.
Yeah.
John Cena in this movie. Again, Fast 9, sorry. Very serious. And John Cena's not I don't want to make it sound like he's not a serious actor, but he does better when he's in comedic roles. And
I would actually say I don't think it's about comedy or seriousness. He's a great actor. Yeah. But when you just go, you're going to be a stern guy. Yeah. And you're just the whole F9, he's just it's like you're just kind of wasting his talent. You know what I mean? Because his talent is like a Bumblebee, where he's threatening, not the bee, like the movie Bumblebee, where like he is threatening, but then he has like great one-liners. Like he's a perfect guy like that, and this movie nails that for him. But yeah,
agreed. Man, there's a lot in this movie. Let's just let's get into spoilers, I guess, basically.
Yeah.
Real quick off the top.
Fast
10. Gal Gadot's back at the very end. Yep. She pops out of the submarine, which is it the submarine from Fast 7? Right? Would that be
Fast
7?
8 is the one that has the submarine, but I haven't seen that. So
Fast 8. Oh, then Fast 8.
All I remember is in the trailer, doesn't The Rock
he
nudge
moves the
torpedo?
Oh yeah.
But doesn't that torpedo blow up the submarine? So wouldn't it not be that one?
They're in the I thought they were in the submarine. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
I really couldn't tell you. I don't know. But
I don't know. Maybe it's a different one.
Yeah.
I'd have to rewatch. I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, so Gal Gadot's back. Don't know how. Remember at the end of Fast 6, I believe it was, when she was thrown off the plane on the tarmac, and obviously Han devastated. But he will be very happy to know she is alive.
He can get rid of Tinder.
Yes, he can get rid of his Tinder.
Yeah.
And of course, the big return that was spoiled by a reporter claiming it as a scoop when it's not a scoop, when the movie's not out. It's just it's just you're spoiling the movie. Was The Rock has returned to the Fast franchise. Big moment because I've said, Fast Five I think is the best Fast and Furious movie, and The Rock he brought some kind of, I don't know, he brought some juice, I felt like, to the franchise when he came in that fifth movie. And it's been sad that he's gone. Obviously, him and Vin Diesel have had their differences. Pretty public spats too, I believe. Just going back and forth with each other. So I don't know how it happened. Again, was it because of Black Adam? Possibly. That is, maybe that's a factor. But he is back, and me and you were theorizing like, oh, what's gonna happen? Is the post credit a lead up to Hobbs and Shaw 2, or is it a lead up to the next Fast and Furious movie? So
well, either way, he's not hard to find. You some bitch.
Yeah.
There you go. Gray beard. Nice gray beard. Signature Luke Hobbs goatee.
Yeah, you gotta bring the goatee. You can't just come in cliche. You gotta bring the goatee back.
Well, he didn't have it. Yeah, like you said, back because he didn't have it in Hobbs and Shaw, and and that's one of the only Fast and Furious movies I've seen. And that's the only one that I've seen with The Rock in it. And I was like, "Where's the goatee? This guy looks like Black Adam in this movie. Like, what are we doing here?" But you make a good point. But speaking of Hobbs and Shaw, I would not mind Hobbs and Shaw and Toretto. And somehow, if you can get Cena in there, yeah, because or even maybe signature fan favorite character Mia Toretto.
Give her something to do. Holy crap!
Yeah,
like what is
a couple guys in armored plating with bowls of fruit in this movie? So that's
right. Like I don't understand. I feel like every time she's in any of the movies since Paul Walker passed away, their excuse is like, "Oh well, I gotta go catch up with my husband and the kid." Yeah. It's like what about everything else? She had like a little, that fight scene that she had with John Cena and everything. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
But that was like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, give her some. Honestly, you throw it with Dom, that'd be cool. Why? Don't throw her with like, Tyrese and
Luda,
Ludacris and that gang. They're doing their own thing. Throw her with, Dom or something. I don't know.
I said, with like Dom being alone,
or even John Cena. There's
why did she not go with them? Like her signature line is, I'm just glad that Brian's back home taking care of the kids. Right. So where are you? Why aren't you going on the adventure? Why are you just like? Why is Jacob, John Cena's character? Why is he just like, Dom told me to come get him? I'll take him from here. She was just attacked. Bring your sister with you. Protect her. Like, why are you not bringing her as well? And then I don't know. For me too.
I'm real quick. Don't you just love that like all the names are like Roman, Tej, Dom, Letty, Jacob.
Yeah, but it's Jacob with a K.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Jacob with a K. So come on now. Don't forget about fan favorite character Mia Toretto. Really, Toretto, big one. I love when I go to people. Who's your favorite Fast and Furious character? And they say Mia. And I go, oh, good for you. God bless you. But really, give that actress some stuff to do because she's really good in these movies. But they literally give her nothing. But I guess last kind of spoiler here, which you kind of alluded to already, is John Cena. He does a double bird flying eagle explosion onto a couple of henchmen. Never to be seen from again? ? Or
in his replica Batmobile from the Batman.
Yeah, literally. Or speaking of the car from the Batman, the guy had a like jet propelled glider in a canoe case. Yeah. Like, what do we think the chances are that we're gonna get Fast 10 and the post credits or the the post credit for Fast 11? Do we think we're gonna see? Oh, but he had one of those little Nick Fury laser things where he just cut a hole real quick and he jumped down through the road and he was like, I was fine the whole time.
I would not be surprised if he survived. We didn't see a body, so not that we really had a chance.
Yeah.
Two things I'll really quickly bring up before we, kind of move on. One, the flight attendant, I don't know if you knew this, on the airplane that gives Jacob the alcohol, Paul Walker's daughter.
Oh, there you go. Very cool. Very
Apparently,
cool.
Danielle told me this. Apparently, like in an article or interview, she said, she like does something or says something that was kind of like a
Subliminal.
nod to, yeah, something. But I like rewatched the clip. I wasn't in on it, but I don't know if somebody knows out
Mm-hmm.
there what the inside thing
Little
was.
message.
Please let me know. And then what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, I think the more I think about it, I don't know if I needed. I don't know if I needed the Alan Richardson kind of turn. I
Yeah.
feel like maybe we were better off with just Jason Momoa being the villain.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll see in the next movie how that kind of goes. But
Shakes out. Yeah.
Jason Momoa, I don't need anybody to kind of counter his craziness.
Yeah.
Just because he's so off the hook in this
Mm-hmm.
movie or off of whatever you want to call it, that I just want to see it continue. I don't need somebody dragging him down.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like he's such like a one man wrecking crew in this, and there's kind of a fun thing where all the henchmen that he does have are working for him for a very specific reason.
Right.
And I like that without that reason, he is just alone.
Right.
I
Yeah.
liked that bit. But again, another kind of logical thing, like, well, he apparently has nobody at his disposal, and has to kidnap all of these henchmen. But then it just turns out he actually either has unlimited access to the agency, or because Alan Ritchson is now running the agency, he's kind of pseudo running the agency as well. So it's kind of weird on that front of like what actually the like power dynamic is. Like you said,
Who
it
were
probably
those?
is going to be explained, but
Who were those people? Like, remember in the beginning when him and Brie Larson are in that room,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Oh, I just upped the bid to get Dom Toretto," and it's like all those like grayed out faces of people like, "Oh, like
Yeah, it
taking that."
reminded me
Who
of
were
like the
all those
World
people?
Security Council
Yeah,
in Avengers. Like,
yeah. I was like, "Who are all these people?"
yeah, they were gonna nuke New York.
I
I
thought they were like he was like giving out like a bounty or something, like in like something
mhm.
from Boba Fett, like straight out of Boba Fett, where it's like, "Go get this guy." That's what I thought it was at first. But obviously that didn't happen at all because
Yeah,
nothing
Boba
like
Fett.
comes of any of that. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's definitely a movie. A
Uh,
good movie? No. Is it a good Fast and
an
Furious movie?
enjoyable movie?
Yes.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
will say too, I think our experience, our theatrical experience with the crowd we were with,
I
there
think the
was a
crowd made it
certain
10 times
moment.
better.
There was a
Yeah.
certain moment, like an hour and a half in, that
Right.
everyone in our theater just started reacting,
Yeah.
clapping when things were going crazy, like cheering, just like in the crowd. And it really was like this slow build, and then
Decent pop for The
basically,
Rock too.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And for Gal Gadot
Even
too.
Gal Gadot, yeah.
People
Uh-huh.
were clapping for her. I think people even clapped for Statham, like when he showed up. Like it was just one of those. The crowd just really got into it towards the end, and it was kind of infectious. So that was I will say that really added to the experience because it was just a decently packed theater, to be honest, and I think that
Mhm.
really just changes your experience a lot of the time. But guys, let us know, what did you think of Fast X? Did you enjoy it? Are you excited for Fast 11? Could you not give two shits about the Fast and Furious movies? Let us know that and more down below. Yeah, thank you for joining us for this review. All right. Before we hit Barry, actually, I do want to get your thoughts. News that dropped earlier this week that you just reminded me of by name dropping Boba Fett. What are your thoughts? Tamora Morrison, Ahsoka, Captain Rex, live action. What are
Oh,
your
awesome.
thoughts?
He was wasn't he saying something about how he'd love to come back and he never got the call about,
Mm-hmm.
playing any other characters or whatever. But no, really, really happy to see that. Obviously he can kind of play an infinite amount of
Characters,
clone
yeah.
if they were
Yeah.
wanted to introduce other clones into live action.
Mm-hmm.
That he, obviously he's gonna step right in and do that. But no, that'd be really cool to see our first action or our first live action Captain Rex. Return of the Jedi does not count.
Yeah. Yeah, although I will say I think we will 100% have our answer in this show if he's in it. I mean, if you have Hera, who was at the Battle of Endor, Sabine, who was at the Battle of Endor, or no, sorry, Sabine was on Lothal, but like you have Hera, Jason, Zeb, a bunch of these people we know were at the Battle of Endor, so I have a feeling that they're going to confirm whether it is him or isn't him. I think we're going to have our answer, right there. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Hera flashback to the Battle of Endor. But yeah, awesome news. Like I said to you, I just hope that it feels like Rex. I just don't want it to be, like Boba Fett again. And that's not, I feel like that's not even, wouldn't be Tem's fault. That would be the writing. And obviously, I don't think that's a big issue because it's Dave Filoni writing the character. He's not going to, he knows that writing for Rex is not like writing for Boba Fett. So, I feel excited about that and happy about the news and everything like that too. But,
real quick.
Yeah.
Updated Fast and Furious rankings.
Oh, here we go.
Again, haven't seen a few of them in a long time. So honestly, Fast X could be higher, but again, I'd have to rewatch. So Fast 5 1, the Fast and Furious 2, Fast and Furious 3, Furious 7 4, Fast and Furious 6 5, Fast X at 6, Hobbs and Shaw 7, Fate of the Furious, so F8 is at 8, F9 at 9, Tokyo Drift at 10, and Too Fast, Too Furious at 11.
There you go. Boom. You heard it from the man himself, Fast and Furious rankings. Hopefully by the time F11...
which might be a trilogy, by the way.
Yeah, I think we're going to get F11, F12, all the... and that's it. And then they'll have filled the function keys on the keyboard. That's all of them. It only goes up to F12. So
that's been the plan the whole time. Let's just fill the keyboard.
Yeah, let's just fill the keyboard up. That way people that pirate the movies, they could just hotkey it. So each function button brings up a different Fast and Furious movie. And then Hobbs and Shaw can be brought up with like the print screen button or something. I think a lot of interesting stuff, but hopefully by the time F11 comes out, I will be caught up with everything in the series, and so on. So yeah, let's end off here. I will say we're gonna go full on spoilers here for the Barry season finale, series finale. Forgive me. Yeah. Oh my God. So let's get into it. If you guys have not seen Barry, if you are wanting to, or if you know that you are going to be watching Barry, I would say tap out here right now, because we are going to be talking full spoilers for, like DJ said, is the series finale. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Last week we left off, NoHo Hank had kidnapped Sally and Barry's son John. So Sally and John both kidnapped by NoHo Hank, being held hostage, wanting to lure Barry out so that he can get Fuchs to take out Barry, so that Fuchs will stop coming after Hank. And that's kind of where we're at. And then Gene Cousineau is out there, talking to all the wrong people, getting caught up with law enforcement, and having them think that he is potentially the mastermind behind pressuring Barry, which is very, very interesting. But let's hit it. What did you think? Let's just go full on spoilers, stuff that happened, and why do you think it happened? How did you feel about it happening? How did you feel about the finale overall?
I think overall, I don't know. I think I'm kind of stuck where I did like it, but the more I think about it, it's like, maybe it's my expectation. Not exactly what I expected, especially leaving off where we left off in the episode before, where, he's obviously, we're getting that kind of music cue, and, Barry's getting worked up, and obviously it starts this episode with, he's walking into the what looks to be a convenience store. Again, very, very not so subtle commentary on guns in this country. He walks into what looks like it could be a CVS, and he says, "Guns, I need guns." And he walks out. It's this very long shot of him walking down an aisle outside to his car, and nobody's kind of nobody's screaming or
The
anything.
kids
Just,
aisle, by the way.
kids out. Yeah, Barry's just walking out with, an AR strapped to his back, a pistol, probably two, a shotgun, et cetera, et cetera. And, nobody says anything, nothing, just walks right out. No license or anything needed for at the gun counter, I believe. Just like
Not to
yeah,
mention the
what do
fact
you
that
need?
he's a wanted criminal.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Um so at that point I'm like, oh shit, it's about to go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're about to get this big gunfight, et cetera, et cetera. And we get none of that.
Mm-hmm.
None whatsoever. And so that was a shock. And I think it was they I feel like maybe it was kind of tough to end the show because I was listening to Bill Hader and he was on like the Conan podcast or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I
listening
listened to
a
that
clip.
whole episode, yeah.
And I think Bill Hader, they were talking about Conan. It's like, oh yeah, I really love Barry. He's like, yeah, you guys really wrote yourself into a corner on this
I
one.
thought that was really interesting that Conan said that. Like,
yeah,
and then how Bill Hader kind of ran with it.
Because Bill Hader was like, well, at the end of season 3, we're like, or whatever, it was like, okay, well, he has to get caught, at some point,
Yeah.
exactly, obviously, and then we go from there. But I thought it was good, but it wasn't great. Not something I loved. At one point, after Kusuno shoots Barry twice, and we get the crowd applause, I go, oh my god, did they just fucking
I thought they were really
do
gonna
that?
do that, yeah.
And then obviously it's Sally coming out to a stage play that she had probably directed or whatever at a college or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, whew, thank God they did not do that, because I think there would have been many people, way more people up in arms than there are probably after this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we see how obviously Barry's remembered with the movie that was made and his son, a cameo, quick 10 minutes from Jade Martell, which was cool to see. I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in a while.
Little it reference there.
Yeah, I think it just annoyed me that he kind of got out easy. And obviously he's dead. But he kind of got off without any consequences. And Kusuno's taking the fall. And, can I blame him for shooting him right then and there? I guess not. I don't actually know. Has he always had that? Well, he had the gun when he shot his son, right? But
yeah,
has he always had that gun?
Yeah, remember he's had it since the first season, or the first season, because remember that was the one that Rip Torn gave him as a gift.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. But I was kind of just conflicted because I was like, man, like, I was thinking, he was gonna go and maybe he was gonna kill Kusuno, or like, I forget what his name is, but Kusuno's agent, talked Barry down, and it seemed like Barry, he was ready to turn himself in. I think he told him to call the police, and he just kind of, he kind of got off easy, and it kind of sucks. It really sucks. But yeah, I've been kind of rambling on. But what did you think?
I really thought. I've been saying I think there's 4 schools of thought when it comes to like any like final season of a show of like, I loved all of it, I hated all of it, I loved it until the finale, or I didn't really like it until the finale. Right. Like I feel like I'm on the like, not that I didn't like it, but I was just like, all right, where are we going with this until the finale? Yeah. Right. I think the finale really cinched everything up for me, because I think I just love the pessimistic nature of, and yes, you say Barry got off easy. He did get off easy, but he also is dead.
Dead.
Exactly. So it's like so. I mean, there is that part, but I loved, and the people out there. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but the people out there that are like, this finale like kind of threw away like the position that this show had on like violence and fate and stuff like that. I don't understand that at all, because I think that the answer to the final season of the show is sometimes you can't outrun your bad choices. And that's just it, because like you said, Gene is taking the fall, but at the same time, Gene put himself in that position. I mean, I was talking to my friend about this the other day that, you know, let's say the show had ended with season 3, okay, and Barry never gets out of prison. Gene would still make the decision to talk to the Variety reporter.
Mm-hmm.
He made that decision to go and give that one-man show talking about Barry's story, talking about Janice. He made those choices all on his own. He didn't even interact with, know that Barry had escaped, know anything that was happening with Barry, and he made those choices. And he made the choice to talk to Jim Moss. He made the choice to talk to what he thought was Daniel Day-Lewis's agent, which I thought that was hilarious. You know, he kind of made his own bed. Did he deserve taking the fall for Janice's death? No, I don't particularly think so. But also, he's ruined himself. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, he reminds me of a character in Succession. You know, and I don't mean a specific, I just mean Gene Cousineau kind of reminds me of a Succession character of, you know, you do want to root for this guy, but at the same time, he's always been kind of a narcissistic piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, he kind of has been. So I kind of liked where everything ended up with that whole side of things. And I did really like everything that happened with the movie, which I forget what they called it now. The mask wearer or something like that. Yeah. I love that, but because that's the angle that Bill Hader wanted to end this on, is that, you know, it's talking about America's need for, you know, rah, the military man is the hero of the story, you know, and about how really police narrative and you know, basically opinion rather than fact is what will rule in the end. And I loved that not only did we get to watch that movie, like the obviously very quick abridged version of that movie, but not only did we get to see the movie itself, but to see John's reaction. And I think that's why you get somebody like, obviously, yeah, it's a nice little reference with you know, Jane Martell working on it with Bill Hader and everything like that. But also, I think it's why you get an actor as good as him to play that minor role, is because I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, I really hope that this ends with John having a feeling of, I don't know if this is the truth. I know deep down it probably isn't the truth, but this is going to let me move on with my life. You know, watching this movie is going to let me move on with my life and not feel weighed down by what are these demons of the past of my family? What is all of this? And that final shot of him crying, and kind of crying in a face of, like, accepting this as the reality that he's going to accept, and kind of breaking that cycle. Because we've seen, whether it's Barry as a kid getting brought up by Fuchs, you know, we've been kind of thinking, and I think a lot of people thought, potentially up until halfway through this episode, that maybe we were just going to see the cycle repeat itself with Fuchs taking John, to then, you know, just create another soldier, essentially, just like he did with Barry. So I really, really liked that. I thought it really came together for me, but I will not take away from anyone, you know, including yourself, that it didn't kind of coalesce. But speaking of Fuchs, kind of pivoting from the Barry Gene side of things and more to the Fuchs Hank side of things, how'd you feel about how all that wrapped up with, you know, you think this big war is coming, you think Barry's going to have this giant shootout, and kind of none of that happens, but we get that amazing moment with Hank, and what happens there, and that great performance by Anthony Carrigan of, you know, Fuchs holding him to the fire and saying, I will leave right now, but I'm not going to let you lie to me or yourself. You have to admit what you did. And then that kind of beautiful breakdown I thought was fantastic. And then what Fuchs does to him, I'm trying to be as not loud with spoilers as possible because on the other side of this wall, my roommate still has yet to see the finale. But you know, what happens, and things kind of go very sideways. But what did you think about how basically Hank's wrap up on this season went?
Yeah, I thought that was a very great scene, just kind of the two of them facing off. And not even, again, just not with guns or anything, unless of course at a point it comes to that point, but kind of like you said, Fuchs holding Hank feet to the fire, like saying, admit what you did. This is all, again, you've kind of done this. You name the frickin' half the corporation name is in his honor. But you have to be real with yourself on why you did that.
Yeah.
Did you name? I forget what the company name is off the top of my head.
Crystal? No. It's
Crystal. Yeah, something like that.
No Ball.
No Ball. Is it really?
Yeah, I think.
Is it
I think so. I think so.
But you have to accept the fact that you are the reason he's dead. And granted, you did try. We saw that in whatever episode that was.
Ball.
Yeah, no.
There's merch already.
He tried to stop him, of course, from going outside, and Chris Ball, just continued outside, and of course, fortunately, was shot dead. But yeah, I thought that was a really great scene. Very interesting scene too. Just the afterwards when Barry's like walking up to the building, and we see his son run up to him, and then there's just Fuchs kind of standing back, and I think that's just the last time we see him, right? It's kind of because at one point I'm like, man, is he gonna go out there and try to kill him? But he just, I think it's kind of like he just wants to put an end to it. I feel like he's also a different person after the time jump. He's a different, person,
100%. 100%. But
which
he was like he says to Hank. He says, that all that time in prison made me open my eyes to who I really am, and that's a man without a heart. And kind of at the last second, you're kind of left with, weirdly, Fuchs makes a choice to be a better person. You know what I mean? He makes the choice to not go after Barry, to not do that. I mean, obviously he's lost basically all of his men to that very quick shootout, which I thought was great. A lot of people were comparing that to like Tarantino, just how quick it was over and how much fallout there was from it and everything like that. But I really like that too. I really like that it's like, did Fuchs also kind of get away easy? Yes, but also he made a choice to be a better person. You know what I mean? Like, and also Fuchs did his time in prison. Like, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I have not rewatched the episode, so I don't know. Maybe some of the stuff will be different for me or anything like that. But anything else you want to touch on?
What'd you think about post the theater and Sally walking out and that dude asking her for a cup of coffee and she's like, no. What did you think about that?
I thought it was great. I thought it was just a nice way to go, she still thinks about it for a second, and clearly she's looking at those flowers, obviously thinking about Barry, because, Barry would bring her flowers for, every day at lunch and also, after her performances and stuff. But also I think it left us with interesting thoughts of who gave her those flowers. And it wasn't a guy. It wasn't somebody why did she accept them? So it kind of gave me this interesting kind of, and then turning down that guy, it kind of still left you with the, like, Sally is physically safe. She's physically moved on to a better life for her and John. But at the same time, she's making better choices, but maybe not all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe she turned down this guy, but maybe not the next one. I think it's still very leaving us in a place of, like, she is in a much better place, but she's still Sally Reed. She needs that, not approval, what's it called? Validation. She needs that validation that's intrinsic to her character, And I don't know if being a college theater professor is going to give that to her for the rest of her life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She clearly is much older, obviously now, but she's still only probably like 40 something, so she's
Yeah.
got a lot of life ahead of her to make, I think, probably some more poor decisions.
I think that
But
also plays into the whole kind of, at one point, I think when they were about to sit down and watch the movie, I think Jacob, right? This is his name. I forget. His son,
oh, John.
John.
Yeah.
John's friend is like, someone says like, "Oh yeah, like, who cares? Your mom doesn't want you to watch this movie," and she's probably seen it and she knows obviously it's not
Yeah.
true. So
Yeah.
I think it's obviously that line of like, I want you to know like what happened actually,
Mhm.
and it might be nice to remember that your father was this hero or whatever, but he wasn't in reality. He was a terrible person. He killed a
Yeah.
lot of people, and she says that again when they're even being held in that room. She like
Sarah
spills her
Goldberg
guts
was
basically.
so good in that
Yeah,
scene. I mean, she is just, I think she's only because everybody else was so weird this year, purposely
yeah,
so. I think she easily gave the best performance this season, and particularly this episode, especially that scene you're talking about where her back's to camera and to
mhm,
John, just kind of info dumping the truth on this like 8-year-old kid. Um,
yeah.
but Sarah Goldberg just really really fantastic. But yeah, I mean it's an interesting point you make too, because I mean we talked about the movie, but also the movie's ending lets us know that he was buried with a like full like whatever they say
Oh
like four
yes, I
star
forgot about that.
general,
Yep. Mhm.
full shebang with honors military funeral laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery, like as this Marine hero. Again, some logical things. Well, what happened to Andy, the FBI agent that knew that Barry was a hitman? Like where from season 3, where did he go?
Yeah.
Like
I,
there's a good amount of people that know the
I
truth,
I
but
feel like maybe the biggest stretch with this season was the
mhm.
turn on Kusino. I feel like that maybe was the kind of like maybe step too far, like where it was like what we were hell bent on that it was Barry, and now all of a sudden, I get it. He's got 200. I get it. He got money and he bought the house,
Mhm.
etc. But
That's where
you're jumping to
again, I think you're absolutely correct, and I've seen tons of people talk about that.
yeah.
For me, I just attribute it to what I liked about it, which is this, I think, big commentary on police narrative of,
Hmm.
it's, and again, shout out Charles Parnell from Top Gun Maverick and those episodes of The Mandalorian, everything like that, playing I think he's the DA,
Hmm.
who kind of does the whole trap for Gene.
Yeah.
But shout out to Charles Parnell, absolutely fantastic performance again in this episode. But I think it's too one of those things that's just like Barry ran for so long, Jim wanted something peace for his daughter, and I think it was just the easy answer was well it must be Gene. And then his son, obviously being suspicious that he shot him, and then you see that article that he wrote that he got interviewed for Vanity Fair.
Oh
I
yeah.
found out my father was laundering drug money, and so he shot me. And it's like oh my god, like I love that. But
Uh,
I think it's just one of those things. But I can absolutely see where it's just like too far for some people, because it is. But for me, it's like, think about how many times there are horrible things that happen in this country that the wrong person gets blamed for. People don't focus on the right thing. I mean, think about what was Barry fighting in. I mean, think about some of the conflicts and wars that this country was in 20 years ago for absolutely no reason. Sorry to get
mhm.
political on here about, the Iraq war, but probably not the best war we've ever fought.
Mhm.
And I think the show really is commenting on a lot of that, because Bill Hader's talked about many times that he's like, I want to explore everything of what a military person means to what it means to be a military person, and what being a military person means to this country. And so I thought it was tragically fitting to me. But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people just didn't get on board with that ending, and I don't even know if that's what the ending was saying. That's just how I interpreted it. You know what I mean? Like that's just how I'm taking it all. Whether that's to rationalize me wanting to like the finale, but either way, I liked it. But I totally get where you're at. I mean, I will say this: I am in the huge minority. Everyone that I have talked to that has seen this finale and watched it was not a huge fan.
Right. Or even how about again? I remember when a few episodes ago when we were talking about how how clearly Barry is kind of playing this character of a man of faith and etc. But
yeah,
maybe it's just not. Maybe that's just who he was. Like I thought at first that it was kind of a character he was playing, but he really is. He kind of did turn into a man of faith. We see him pray before he goes into what he thinks is going to be a gunfight. When him and Sally are talking on the bed, and Sally's like, "You should turn yourself in," and he's like, "Actually, I think God has another plan for me. I was supposed to die tonight, and I didn't." So I was pretty shocked by that. Yeah, exactly. It was supposed to die in the morning.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that little prayer that he says to himself in the car when literally no one else is around is what finally sealed it for me. Because we got that little bit in the last episode where he's listening to all of those religious podcasts where he's like trying to get the validation of like murder is okay. And then he gets one podcast that's like, so in the right circumstances, and he's just like, good enough for me.
Done.
And then he goes in. So I thought that was really, really funny. But I think he was. I think he genuinely. I mean, it's been 8 years. I think he genuinely funneled whatever was left of his humanity into that aspect of it to try to save some. Because I mean, think about it. He saw acting as his way out, and it clearly wasn't. So he had to kind of find a new way out, which I think for a lot of people is religion most of the time.
And I think it comes down to the whole Gene Cousineau thing. It comes down to the time jump, if we're going to be honest. Were you on board when they jumped 8 years, basically? And if you weren't, then it probably didn't work for you.
Yeah, I think it is definitely going to, unlike Succession, I think it is definitely going to be an argument until the end of time. Should Barry have ended with season 3? I think that's going to be the 20 years from now. Just like people talk about Lost, which also pretty horrific stuff coming out about the set
a lot of
Lost.
News regarding,
I didn't really talk about it we didn't really talk about it because I've never seen the show. I don't really know the people that are involved. I don't really know anything other than some of the tweets and the headlines that I've been seeing come out today. But some pretty horrific stuff sounds like was going down on that set. But like Lost, which has now been off the air for over 10 years, I think we're gonna get a lot of divisiveness about this finale, probably for the rest of time, because people are gonna be rediscovering this, binging it now that it's over, and being like, "What the hell was that?" But again, I listened to that whole Conan podcast, and Bill Hader talks about the fact that they wrote when they got shut down for COVID, they were writing season 3. And they still couldn't start filming, so they said, "Hey, can we start writing season 4?" So they wrote season 3 and 4 back to back. So
oh wow,
I think I think it was a lot of it was super intentional about where things were going. So I think there's meaning to be found if you want to look for it. But I think at the end of the day, if it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you, and I think that's totally fair. But anything else you want to touch on with Barry before we move on? I think we hit everything. I mean, it was only a 32-minute finale, but I think it did well with what it has in 32 minutes. But anything else you want to touch on?
No, I'm good.
All right. So, guys, let us know, what did you think of Barry season 4? Obviously, pretty divisive season and pretty divisive finale. I really liked it. TJ, not so much, although he still liked it. It just, didn't fully come together for him. I mean, it didn't 100% come together for me either. Like I said, I was a little on the edge of my seat going, where are we going with this? But then I think a lot of it and the core message of the show kind of came back through for me in the final moments there. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of Barry season 4. Let us know what you thought of Succession. We're probably going to be having a big discussion. Honestly, depending on how fast you finish it, I actually I might bring one of my coworkers on to talk about Succession if you finish it in time. I was thinking about next week so that spoilers are really gone. But I'm thinking about maybe having a big conversation to just really dive into it. So might have that to look forward to. But if you want to get
Spider-Man coming,
huh?
Too. Spider-Man, right? This
week?
Week?
Absolutely, yeah. Spider-Man is going to be huge next week. Next week, full spoiler review. I'm gonna have an out of theater reaction for that one. Again, now that I have this iPad here, I am going to be trying to get a lot more out of the theater reactions going, a lot more TikToks going. I'm just really hoping that this is gonna let me just go with getting a lot more stuff pumping out that is easier to do than just trying to do it on my phone, every single thing on my phone at once. So hopefully that will help out with a lot of stuff. But yes, Spider-Verse out of the theater reaction next week. Spider-Verse spoiler discussion with myself and TJ next week on Tuesday. Probably going to have a Ted Lasso immediate reaction to the finale out probably tonight. Probably closer to midnight, but I'm probably going to watch that episode right after this. Have you looked it up at all? Do you know the runtime?
Hour 15.
Okay, I'll take it. Just, when you get to it. Second to last episode of Succession, an hour and 11 minutes. Last episode of Succession, 90 minutes. So
nice.
Great. No Mandalorians here. But really, really great stuff. Let us know what you thought about everything that we talked about. And I just realized we went this entire show and did not say anything about the X-Men. So before we wrap up, really quick here, I just want to get TJ's thoughts because I just completely forgot right as I looked at the thumbnail again. So basically, story is obviously Deadpool is filming right now, but that we are going to be getting a lot of the Fox X-Men in this movie. Today it was reported that Famke Janssen obviously plays Jean Grey, James Marsden, who plays Scott Summers' Cyclops, and then Halle Berry, who obviously plays Storm, are all going to be joining the cast that has already been announced, which is Owen Wilson as Mobius, Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Matthew McFadden Tom from Succession as a TVA agent, and Professor X, Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen Magneto. So obviously this is going to be a huge X-Men blowout, fantastic. We don't want this universe or this breadth of characters to go out with Dark Phoenix. So, I'm assuming we're probably going to see other people, probably Channing Tatum as Gambit. Mm-hmm. Anybody, finally? I think that's probably very likely. I think we could see some Fantastic Four from those Fox movies as well. And basically, I want to get your thoughts on the fact that basically with all these casting, it's almost inevitable that this movie is clearly going to be some type of adaptation of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is probably going to be Deadpool Kills the Fox Universe, where he just might be going around and killing off all of these characters that we know and love. But what are your thoughts on those three joining the cast? We know it's filming right now, and if they're being announced with the cast, they're probably filming soon. But what are your thoughts on this? Big kind of blowout shebang one last time for the Fox X-Men universe.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't have that big of a connection to the Fox X-Men. Unfortunately, I've seen 1 through 3 and Dark Phoenix. Or no, I've seen 1 through 3 and Apocalypse. Unfortunately, I've seen Apocalypse. Although unfortunately, you've seen Dark Phoenix. So
that is true.
But no, that's a lot of people. I did not see that anywhere. I just saw it on Twitter, like just now, looking it up. But that's crazy. That's a lot of people to balance as well. So hopefully they knock it out of the park. Did not even know Matthew McFadden was now in this movie, which is really cool. I'm definitely a fan of him as an actor after watching Succession.
Now they threw in this recent batch. I believe it was from Big Screen Leaks. They threw in this one because we knew Matthew McFadden was going to be in it. But they threw in here that he was going to be a TVA agent. So do you think we could see Tom Wamsgams as early as Loki season 2 in the MCU?
Possible.
I think it's possible. I think it's very possible. But that's going to be a great dynamic. I mean, Matthew McFadden as a TVA agent, that is perfect casting. But yeah, just want to get your thoughts on that, and I'm glad we touched on it right at the end there. Oh my God, do we get a Tom Logan reunion? Are we getting Brian Cox back as Stryker? I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I think we will. Homie's missing those checks. He's doing McDonald's commercials and DirecTV commercials. I think Brian Cox will do whatever you want him to do. But yeah, I think that would be really, really funny if we get Brian Cox back. You're the animal, Wolverine. Man, he is so good as Stryker in that movie. But yeah, I really hope that we see him back. But excited with that cast. Obviously, Halle Berry, fantastic in every single role that she's been in. Mm-hmm. Amazing in Days of Future Past. I mean, we got to get Kelsey Grammer in as Beast, right?
Yes, yeah.
Come on.
Kelsey Grammer.
Late start, huh, Logan? Yeah, that's got to be awesome.
Well, I don't know. What would you rather have, Kelsey Grammer back in X-Men, or would you rather have your Frasier reboot back? I mean, it's still happening.
Is it too bad to live in a world where we get both?
No. Is that still happening, by the way? Is that? Oh, it's in production, it says.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, they were saying that. I think they said that it started production in October, but I don't know. Oh. I don't know what the writer's strike maybe did to that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know. Or no, not.
How was
October.
Deadpool filming?
Well, that's a much bigger discussion. Maybe we'll save that for next week. But my guess, because people are like, Ryan Reynolds he can't improvise. It doesn't say like, oh, they're starting filming and it's the first day is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in a car quipping back and forth to each other. My guess is they are saying that starting production, they're going, all right, let's film the action stuff that does not require writing. Let's film the action stuff, the CG set pieces, the base plates. Let's start all the production that we can that is as little writing intensive as possible. That's my guess, and also my guess is that this will be shut down because I think the SAG strike is going to go through. We might have a report on that as soon as next week because that is June 5th, which is next Monday. So it's very possible that SAG could be on strike this time next week. If that's the case, I mean, kind of all bets are off. It's probably going to be mostly talking about that and then Spider-Verse. But yeah, I don't think it's likely that Deadpool will even be filming this time next week. But yeah, let us know about what are your thoughts on some of those Deadpool 3 updates. And then obviously everybody that I just read off is then also being joined by Negasonic Teenage Warhead coming back, Colossus coming back, Dopinder coming back, Blind Ale, everybody but Gina Carano and TJ Miller. I wonder why. But I think it's going to be a really wild movie. And you got to get Miss Minutes in there. You got to get Deadpool hitting on Miss Minutes and her probably giving it right back to him. Maybe even get Loki in there. I just throw it all in. Okay. Last question before we close out entirely. Do we get Lizzie Olsen as Wanda in this movie?
No.
Okay. I think we might as a variant with Magneto. I think they might pull that, and then kill her also. But because I think it would be good retribution for her killing everybody in what's that movie? Doctor Strange 2, your favorite movie. So let us know what you guys think of all that. We will join you next week where we will probably, unfortunately, be talking pretty in depth about the writer's strike, possibly the Screen Actors Guild strike, but definitely talking everything Spider-Verse related. Full spoiler review. But yeah, guys, let us know. Close it out here. What do you think about everything that we've talked about? And we will catch you guys in the next video.